Happy Easter, everybody. I hope y'all are doing good. I am. It's been a very long weekend. I'm tired, but we're here for the energy oracle forecast for the week. I would highly suggest going back and watching Friday's weekend message. It ended up being a really good talk on Good Friday, and some of the deep secrets on the significance of the crucifixion. And then last night's episode of Secret Teachings of Jesus, we also kind of delved into ascension, resurrection, and things. So I would say those were the big Easter weekend content relevant pieces there. So sorry, I'm like nonverbal. I'm tired. Oh my goodness. What are we going to be looking at for this week as far as the energy goes? Memento Mori. I love this. So whenever I pull this card out, I mean, like the message is like there may not always be a someday. And so we have to like realize our mortality. But for me, this card kind of takes on a different meaning. I like to look at this card as a moment where we're able to step outside of the self and see like the self that we once were, that we're dying to. Like this past weekend, we died to the old self and the old life and who we were and, you know, who we have been up until this point, which is part of the death of the cross, of the resurrection. It's like the ego death. And, you know, on Easter, we rise as a new person, right? Transcendent of the former smaller self. And so, you know, as we're going forward, it's like we're a new person and we're able to look back and see the self that has died away, but also see the self that we are becoming that's kind of more fleshed out, right? So we're able to, you know, see like, oh my gosh, this is who I was. This is how far I've come. Like, you know, I'm able to look outside and see the growth and the progress and celebrate dying to the old self and leaving that behind and going forward and having a new journey and a new start and a new self, a higher self, an up-leveled self. All right. I think I'm gonna cry. I'm so tired, and this is so poignant. Rebirth. Oh my God. On the heels of the Lent fast, the Lenten fast, Passover, and Easter weekend, Good Friday, the crucifixion, and the resurrection, we've got the death of the old self, the rebirth of the new self, the higher self, the promise of fresh starts and better experiences. I'm not really apologizing for being emotional. I get emotional on this channel. Partially because we're doing this at the end of the day and I'm usually tired and fragile. But yeah, I'm just very moved at the poignancy of how on point that is for all of the themes that have been going on. And I just feel like, I don't know, Spirit is just kind of giving us a wink. Like, it's like sort of like, yes, we've been acknowledged for going through this like initiation and this portal. And now it's sort of like the talisman is coming. The promise of a new dawn, new experiences, a new state of thinking and being and consciousness and who we perceive ourselves to be in the world. Love. It's like we have this like heart opening now. And I think that, you know, the more that we die to these layers of the ego, the more that we reveal the love that is the core of our essence and the core of our life force, really. And so it's only these small shells of the small self of the ego that keep us, you know, that light, that unconditional, unwavering love from within these shells of scarcity. It's this fear, this lack, this doubt that keeps us reacting, right? In this reaction mode. It keeps us in like a scared animalistic state of consciousness for our human consciousness. And so, you know, we're not unwavering. We're not eternal in that state. We're in reactivity. So as we break these shells of reacting to the changing circumstances of life, we break away that negativity, and it's like the veil becomes thinner, and I don't know, we just feel a state of fulfillment. And I think that's the quality of love that is coming in. It's just this low level state of fulfillment underneath it all, where even in the midst of challenges and whatnot, you can find like this grounded, anchored centeredness from within, from something beyond logic, you know, something beyond what we can see, hear, you know, and touch, taste, and smell. But I think that too, once we get into this state of opening up to this deeper, like, divine love, it like opens up channels for love in our physical world, whether it be like, you know, having lots of new friends and having like a job that you love and an environment that you love to work in and people that you love to work with, whether it's, you know, actually attracting like true love in your life or being able to mend like familial relationships. I do believe that the opportunity going forward, I love that, in this next cycle is like predicated on our potential to have deeper, more fulfilling, more balanced and healthy and meaningful relationships with the people around us. And that means like the people that survived the great overhaul of 2022, it's like we're gonna like make it through and, you know, go deeper and get richer, you know, in our connections. And the people that have kind of fallen away, like you kind of recognize that, and it's like you're accepting that and willing to like let them kind of, you know, move on and go their own direction. And new people are coming in, you know, that you really resonate with and that are kindred spirits. So yeah, I think that the promise of hope before us in this new beginning, this new story that we're writing, is that the underlying theme going forward can be love. So let that be your mirepoix in your pot that you're cooking up, is love. Love and resurrection. All right, and one last card for the week. Ooh, okay, what is this? Went down into the depths of the couch. Oh my gosh, anxiety. Oh, wonderful. Can't wait. Yeah, I think that too, it's just that when we have an awakening like this, it triggers the ego and it stirs up our anxiety. And I think that during the season of Pisces and during this like death rebirth season, we went through so many different deep emotions and things. Like we faced anger, we faced lust, we faced sorrow, we faced all kinds of things during this time. And I can't remember like specifically the anxiety card never came up. And so, you know, that's sort of like, it's not it can be very intense because people can have anxiety attacks, but when it's compared to, say, sorrow, despair, rage, like it's kind of a lighter weight emotion, right? So, and it's even got the bats, right? So it can just flutter away. So we've done all the heavy lifting and we've been in this awakening, and now it's more like maintained, like maintenance work in our consciousness so that our anxiety doesn't build up. But it's like at this point, like I don't want to say that this is the last thing left, but it's just that so much of the work has been done to transmute and change and transform that it's like we're never going to be able to get rid of anxiety. We live in a world of time and space and human beings and the things that we've created, and so we are anxious. Like we are in anxious times. But we can manage this, and then we can, nurture all of these things, and it cuts down on our anxiety. And so anxiety is one of those things that you really have to watch because it takes daily maintenance. It adds up. And so you need to be able to get that out of you in some way or in a variety of ways every time. But yeah, I would say going forward in this new timeline and this new story and this fresh start and this new cycle, we will, as we are being rebirthed, love will start pouring forward, but love triggers the ego, and the ego answers with anxiety. So don't be anxious at your anxiety when you recognize it popping up. It's just a natural response to your up level, and when the powerful influence of unconditional love, or just the love of life, or when hope and love and optimism start leading the way, when the light starts to lead the way, the ego gives pushback. Even if you've done the healing work, even if you've gone through ego death, it's we can go through 1,000,000 ego deaths in this life. It's not a one and done. Sorry. The dark night of the soul can happen again and again and again. It's in layers. So just know that the ego is always going to be there, and it's going to give you a little anxiety, but the less that you put weight on this, the more just let it just fly out like the bats, right? I'm feeling anxious. Oh, I'm just going to get it out of me, right? Let it go. Don't hang on. Don't obsess. Just keep moving forward. Keep having this new sense of rebirth and focus on the love, right? And be ready, with game face on for when anxiety pokes its little head, which it will. Just consider it daily maintenance. That's why we do our meditations. That's why we do our spiritual practice. I like to do, spiritual practice in the morning. I like to be in tune with prayer and things throughout the day and try to stay conscious of observing my state. And I mean, it's a constant effort. Even though I do a lot of work at it, I still get worked up and upset and frustrated. It's just going to happen. But you just have to try to bounce back, and you just try to do your best to be resilient. But yeah, just watch the anxiety. Just don't hang on to it. Don't cling. Just try to let it go, and try to keep the maintenance of keeping your consciousness clear and grounded and nurtured and soothed regularly, so that the anxiety doesn't build up. All right, but don't worry if you get anxious this week. It's just gonna be part of it, part of the energy. But there's probably a reason for that. Oh, I remember. Oh my God. Okay, so I love studying Judaism, and I love the Hebrew holidays and traditions. There's 4 days of the year that are easy, and the rest of it I feel is just trials and tribulations. So after being exposed to all the power and the light of Passover, and this is one of those great end of the video bonus moments for the people that watch the whole thing. This is the first 12 days of Aries. My friend out there, Joanna, if you're watching, you were I'm glad I stayed till the end and saw this and got the warning and the heads up, because those were really hard first days of Aries. I'm not going to get into that now, but this is one of those things. So during Passover, there's a lot of raw source light, powerful energy coming in to our consciousness through these open portals and windows of time, which is the time period of Passover. So we're absorbing all of this light, and technically Passover is a week long. So we're still in this window of all this light and blessing being revealed. However, after the time of Passover, we have to earn the vessel, like we talk about, lest there's chaos. and we have to embody the light. We talk about this a lot on the Secret Teachings of Jesus video. So we just received all this light during Passover, but now we have to earn it, like pay the interest on it from the credit card. So there's this 40-day period. It's like 40 days of Lent lead us to Passover. Then there's like a 40-day period called the Omar, or the Omer. Omar, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. But basically during that period, it's like challenging. It will test us. It may stretch us. It may tempt us. But it is like a little bit of a challenge. But it's that challenge to really up level, because it seals in the deal of what we sort of like have taken from Passover, all that light that could be like the big Mario power for our up level for this beginning. It's like this big blessing energy for the beginning. But we just have to now kind of do the work that we just earned. For instance, oh my God, this is a great metaphor. At night, after our shift at the restaurant, we have to do all the polishing. We have to polish all the glasses and the silverware and the plates and things to make sure that everything's sparkling and clean. And then we have to clean the restaurant and all that stuff. So it's like when we get the tips during the shift, it's like that's like getting the light. And even though we are waiting on the tables and that's definitely earning the light, there's still work to be done afterwards. And that's part of like the work that's involved in the money that we're getting to take away after the shift. Once the tables are gone, it's like there's still work to do. And that is like what it's like to get the light during these high holidays. It's like you then have to follow up with a little bit of side work after the shift to embody the lesson and to like pay and work off like all of the blessing that you just took on, if that makes sense. So yeah, so the next few weeks may be a little bit challenging, but don't worry, that's just part of this time of year anyway, because it also coincides, not coincidentally, with eclipse season anyway, and our spring Mercury retrograde. So it's all clumped together, and the reason, you know, it's not an accident that the Omer is occurring during eclipse season and Mercury retrograde. It's all of the Hebrew holidays and time periods that are open to expose us to energy are also in alignment with like the astrology of the year as well. So it's all tied in together. So it's not that it's a coincidence. It's just that they're all interrelated. And they're during these times for a reason. All right, I'm tired. All right, see y'all tomorrow for our anchor message, where we learn kind of more in detail like what our assignments are in soul school for the week, so to speak, the lessons we'll be working with. All right, ciao.